Greetings YouTube, Stanley Tweedle Vlogs here, cheers. So earlier today I saw the film The Debt. As I walked out of the theater I gave the movie about a 7. But the more I think about the movie, the more offended I get. I'm not really like angry. It's sort of like a similar reaction I had to the Star Wars prequels. I was offended that a movie this terrible was made in place of what should have been a great movie. And it had all the elements there to make it a great movie, and it just fucked it up. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with the story per se. The acting is great, the directing is great, and it's very well edited. The editing's amazing. It's just the moral of the story, if I'm going to use a cliche, it is just so unbelievably bad and awful. It's like Jewish Avatar. Really. If you put Avatar, a bunch of Israelis, and James Bond in a blender, this is what you get. It's fucking awful. It's a lot like Munich in that regard. Except Munich had a really strong... or it was long enough and had so many great points that you could kind of strain to overlook the awful scenes that try and ruin what was an amazing movie, and pull up all these bizarre kinds of moral equivalences and nonsense. And I know why the movie is getting 7s and something, and why it's getting a lot of very bad reviews. People like me that aren't moral equivalents, lefty douchebags, hate having that morality in a movie. Hate it when I have to watch this crap play out on screen. It's almost, then I'll say, it's as offensive to me as watching Birth of a Nation or something like that. It's just terrible. And of course, moral equivalents, lefty douchebags, the bleeding heart crowd do not want to watch this movie. Unless Israelis are being roasted alive by Palestinians that are cannibalizing the children, then, you know, it's just a pro-Israeli propaganda film to them. I actually had this exact argument. Well, I had this argument with a guy about Munich, and he hated the movie because he thought it's an Israeli propaganda film, and I hate it because I think it's exactly the opposite. So you can't. It's like oil and water. You can't combine these things and have it please anyone. But it was just, the characters are terrible. I hate the characters. The movie is trying so hard to make me like these characters, and I like the villains and hate the protagonists. I don't know if anyone's had that experience in another movie. If so, please list them in the comment section. I'd be curious to see it. Yeah. Like I literally, by the end of the movie, wanted the Nazi war criminal to kill Rachel. He was one of the main characters. I wanted him to win, because he at least wasn't a self-loathing douchebag. He at least possessed an instinct of self-preservation, and I can respect that, at least. Even though I think he's a terrible human being, and I'd love to kill him myself, he's just... I can at least respect him as a human being. I can't respect these. I can't respect these people that will want to draw moral equivalence between themselves and a man who was revealed in the dialogue injected gasoline into inmates at his internment camp and blinded children in an effort to change their eye color. So it's just awful, and keep watching this movie all the way through. Keep in mind, these people are supposed to be Mossad agents. These people are supposed to be the nasties. These people are supposed to be the best in the world. The people you do not want to... The people who are probably the most deadly organization on the planet. So it was just offensive to me to see these people whining and crying their way through a shitty movie. The leader of this group, Stefan, I was supposed to hate him. I was told to hate him. I liked his character, and I thought he was even well acted. You find out later on in the movie that he's, you know, in a wheelchair. I'm not spoiling anything, but I like that, and I noticed, even though he's in a wheelchair, it does not diminish his presence at all. He still seems as cool as he did when he had legs. It takes immense personal strength to be able to be a normal person and continue on without legs. And he does it and still seems as deadly and as in control and as cool and calm and collected as he always was. I found that to be very interesting. I'm just going to complain about a couple of specific scenes that really pissed me off. So if you don't like spoilers, then now's the time to click off. This is just like a minor nitpick, but the Nazi war criminal was working as a gynecologist, and Rachel, who was supposed to be the Mossad agent, she was supposed to capture him and assess to make sure that this was the guy. And to do that, she has to go through a pelvic examination, which is creepy, to say the least. Really, really creepy. And that was a well done scene. It was really disturbing. But here's a minor detail. Women, when they have sex, there's bruising down there. And I'm getting this from CSI. That's how one way you can tell consensual versus non-consensual sex is where the bruises are in the vagina. And of course he's a gynecologist, and he's got his head up there and he's looking. And her cover story is she's trying to get pregnant, but obviously she hasn't had sex in a little while. And later she does have sex and gets pregnant. Spoiler. And the Nazi war criminal comment, "Hey, you had sex last night." Well, why weren't you noticing that before? You know, you'd think this very nervous Jewish woman who sounds a lot like she's hiding something, and says she's trying to get pregnant, but clearly isn't having sex. You'd think he'd find that suspicious and try and get the hell out of there or something. I kind of expect a higher level of thinking for spies, a little bit more paranoia, but whatever. I was willing to let that go. I was just a nitpick. Shit that really pissed me off, when they fuck up trying to get out of Berlin, or I guess East Berlin, I should say, trying to get into West Berlin. When they fuck that up, first they fuck it up in the first place. They don't leave the girl behind, which I think real Mossad agents would. Sorry, it's Mossad. They're not tourists. They're hardcore spies. All right. Anyway, later when they fuck that up, that they're worried that there are going to be cops going door to door to door to door, and they're worried about getting caught. And Stefan just about to pull a gun on the Nazi war criminal. He's about to kill him, and David, whose entire life was about making sure this guy stands trial, and right now he's about to be rescued, so to speak, by the Soviet police. He tries to. He won't. He gets in the line of fire and says, "You're not going to kill him. You can't kill him. I won't let you kill him." Why? He's being totally logical here. Like this. Okay, you're going to lose the guy. I admit it's better to make sure this guy goes through a trial so you can have your public showing and your condemnations and all that other stuff. You know, it's good to do this in the light of day, and so everyone can spit on him and throw shit at him. That would be great. But that might not happen. But I just don't really get why this dick dance of a trial that has a preordained conclusion is so necessary to the point where you couldn't ever consider just killing this war criminal yourself if it looks like he's going to get away, which he did. and the notion that just not doing that makes you the moral equivalent. Yeah, and it was just playing Rachel and David, the Nazi war criminal. I mean, so easily, so obviously. Stefan wasn't having it, of course. You know, he tries little mind games on him. He would fuck with him back. At one point, he and there are other little things, but this is the part of the movie where I knew I thought like the two main characters were supposed to be villains or something at this point. No, they're just retardedly written. They're just retarded characters. I hate them. At one point, David comes into his shift to watch the Nazi war criminal, and Stefan is he finds that Stefan has placed a bag on his head, and he of course loses his mind and starts screaming and yelling, "I'm not an animal! He could possibly suffocate!" No, not really. Yeah, no, he's got a bag on his head and he's got tape with his mouth. He has to breathe through his nose. I think it'd be really uncomfortable for him, like having a really bad cold. It'd be hard to breathe, but he'd still breathe, and I think he wouldn't suffocate. And if he was going to suffocate, you'd get some kind of notification. But it was just so insulting to me that I'm supposed to draw some kind of moral equivalence here. That I'm supposed to think he's just as bad as someone who blinded children to change their eye color and injected gasoline into people's bloodstreams just to see what would happen. Like, no. No. There is a difference. There is a line. So I just hated this movie. I want to show you the exact scene that came to mind when David was bitching about the bag. I'll just leave you with that. This is from Blackadder Season 2. If you haven't seen Blackadder, there's something wrong with you. You are the moral equivalent to a Nazi. Cheers.
Ah, Lady Farrow. What a real pleasure it is to see you again.
It is my beloved that I shall be pleased to see.
Well, quite. Though I should warn you that he will not be quite as you knew him.
You fiend! What have you done to him?
We have put a bag over his head.